This is a presentation about the future use of Pcsos within community and neighbourhood policing. I will be talking about the pros and cons of phasing out Pcsos and the effect it will have on the community policing. What is the difference between community policing and neighbourhood policing? There is a big difference between the way the two respond to crime. Community policing is a reactive approach to policing, whereas neighbourhood policing is more proactive in finding the crime that could happen and preventing it from happening in the first place. Neighbourhood policing is a proactive method, which means it is a commitment by community service to improve the quality of life by working with local people to target issues. Whereas community policing is more of a problem-orientated policing, finding an issue and working with the public to cancel it out. So police community support officers. They are specific police officers who are hired to work in communities with the people who live in them. It makes the service more personal, as the same officer has their own community they support when on shift. However, their powers are limited, as is their equipment. They are only equipped with a radio and a stab-proof vest when out on the beat. Additionally, they don't have the power to place people under arrest when on their patrol. They only have the power to detain for up to 30 minutes to wait for a PC to arrive to use their power of arrest. The only real powers they have is to issue fixed penalty notices for cycling on a footpath, littering, offences respecting to a dog under control, and refusal to give a name or address, all of which are under the Police Reform Act 2002, and the offence for not giving the name and address is part of the Serious and Organised Crime Act 2005. The advantages of Pcsos. Firstly, as they are not armed in any way, they're a lot less imposing and make it easier for the public to talk to them, because usually the police have batons and things on them, but they look a lot less intimidating without them and more approachable. Secondly, they work in the same environment every day and get to know people, building a good relationship with them. This is another positive because it means people are going to become friendly with their local Pcso, and more likely to speak to them, let them know what's going on, to tell them things that they can't get themselves. And thirdly, from a financial point of view, they're cheaper to employ. On average, a Pcso earns £3,000 a year less than a fully trained PC, mainly because they have less duties to take care of, and PCs have more rights they need to exercise when they're out on their patrol shifts. The disadvantages, however, the Pcsos cannot make arrests. This means people aren't actually scared of them. They're not much of a deterrent because they know that they can only be detained for 30 minutes, and more often than not, PCs don't actually turn up in the half an hour time limit that the law has set for them. This means they're referred to as plastic police, which they don't really stop crime as such. They don't stop it from happening. They're just more of a visual deterrent, but even then they're not a very strong visual deterrent. As well as the fact they have a lack of equipment and they're a very small arsenal when they're out on shift. So if people wanted to make a name for themselves and attack a police officer, a Pcso would make a good target, because they can't really fight back or anything. They can't arrest them afterwards. They just have to take it and just deal with it from there, really. But they can't do anything there and then. Norfolk's attitude to Pcsos is quite different. They've decided to axe the entire Pcso scheme. They believe that the money would be better spent paying for actual police officers to do the same job. They would scrap all 151 of their Pcsos, but only employ 81 of them as actual PCs. This means that 70 people are going to be out of a job, which isn't really fair, but that's just how it's worked out. And the graph underneath, that shows the crimes across Norfolk from June 2017 to June 2018. As you can see, the crimes that Pcsos deal with, the more antisocial behaviour side of things, low-level burglary, violence, low-level violence, graffiti, it's all starting to rise, whereas the smaller offences, the bigger offences, are on the rise. They're more the police who can arrest them and take them off the streets, and they're able to take them into jail, which means they can't commit the offences again. Hence, the figures are starting to fall. There are different styles of policing used. There's POP, which is problem-orientated policing, which is a method used in community policing by listening to the public and what issues they have and then responding to them. Situational crime prevention. This looks at how adaptations can be made to prevent criminal acts from taking place and occurring in the first place. It looks at what crimes are occurring and where. There are two types. There's target hardening, which means they make it harder for crimes to be committed in the area. So if there's an alleyway known for drug use and drug dealing, they could put spotlights on it, which means that they're making it a lot more open to people. People can see what's going on a lot more, which should deter them from using those areas for drug dealing. And then there's designing out, which is a really forward thought, which is when they're building a housing estate, they have to think of where the crimes could be committed. So behind a shed, by the local park or whatever, they have to think about that and then think about a way they could stop that being used as a hotspot for crime by either making it, again, with a big spotlight so they feel really open, or having people around the area, houses looking onto it, so again they feel like they're not hidden away from anyone or anything. And then finally there's hotspot policing, which relies on information from the public to find out where crimes are being committed, and then having officers go do regular checks around there, making sure that they see police there as a visual deterrent, know that they can make arrests if necessary for the people that are doing whatever criminal acts there are. So what could all this mean for the future of community policing? A lack of specific officers won't end community policing, full stop. However, it will make it more difficult, it will make it more substantially difficult. All the qualities the people like, such as the Pcso's familiar face and the less threatening look with all the lack of equipment they have, is what they liked. They were easy, they were approachable, and they were good to talk to. But if you take away what they like, if you take away what the public like, then they're going to lose their trust in the police. Again, they're taking away what the public want, which is going to mean they're less willing to talk to police officers, and they're not going to be on side with them, which means any crimes that are committed, then chances are they're not really going to know about them unless it's a big crime that someone calls up about. But any low-level crime, they're just not going to hear about anymore. And they're the references that I used for the presentation today.